Welcome to Capes and Crossovers, the podcast where capes, masks, and multiverses collide. Not with fists or fandom wars, but with heart. I'm Luke Becker, here with my wonderful partner, Marvin Goines. We will be your guides through the wild, wonderful world of Marvel and DC projects. Here, we're ditching the toxicity and embracing the love, the sincerity, and the sheer joy these stories bring to the screen. Whether it's a team up, a reboot, or a universe shattering showdown, we're diving in with open minds and full on fandom. Grab your popcorn, suit up, and let's explore these worlds together. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the stories that unite us. Let's get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of Capes and Crossovers. I am Luke Becker. I am here with my friend Marvin Goines. Marvin, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. I got nice weather for the first time in God knows how long here in Texas.
Yeah, man, the weather's beautiful here too. We're in the 60s today. Oh, after a few days of 40 recently, I needed this weather. This is fantastic. But I'm so happy you're here, dude. This is great.
Yeah, that's funny you mentioned that it's 40 because the other day it was 90 here. So
Oh my God.
you just gotta love the variety of everything, like the variety of things we're gonna talk about today, DC and Marvel wise.
Yeah, I'm so excited that we got this podcast started up. Episode one's obviously a big step here to get things rolling, and we got some cool topics to get into today. So, where should we start? Marvel or DC?
Well, if you look at that document, I'd say we just go top down. I mean, I kind of ranked them by like the I'd say the biggest news, and obviously the biggest one has to be Sadie Sink being cast in Spider-Man 4. I mean, that's something that has been talked about every single day since that piece of information came out. Now, who do you think she's playing? I mean, let's just get right into it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it feels like we've heard every theory under the sun ever since that report has come out. I mean, I've heard, oh, she might be MJ from the multiverse. She might be Gwen Stacy, but they're gonna dye her hair. Could be Black Cat. Could be Mayday, who is the daughter of MJ and Peter Parker. It could be Firestar. There's been like all these different names coming out, and it's tricky. And obviously, we had Jean Grey early on, which appears to not be the case anymore. But who at this point it's like, who really knows? My guess right now, I'm leaning towards honestly that theory of Mayday, daughter of MJ and Peter Parker, maybe from another universe. I think that makes the most sense. I mean, we already have an MJ.
Yeah.
It's not Mary Jane, obviously. It's Michelle Jones. But I don't know, something wouldn't sit right with me with the idea of the real MJ and basically implying this wasn't the real MJ. That just doesn't sit right given how we've built up the character thus far. So I'm hoping it's Mayday, and I think it's Mayday. I don't think Sony would take that other route, but hey, I could be wrong, obviously. Sony has made some decisions I consider questionable more than once. So anything's possible. What do you think, Marvin?
You're being really nice about just saying the word questionable when it
Yes,
comes to Sony.
yes.
But I understand why. It's because that's kind of like our thing here. We're going to be a little bit more fair.
Yes.
I think she's Gwen Stacy. I mean, I don't see why she can't dye her hair blonde. They've done it
Wow.
for many other people. Gwen Stacy's around this time would be the perfect time to introduce her. I mean, he's kind of had MJ. That's another love interest for her. I mean, do you think there's even a possibility she could be Felicia Hardy and be Black Cat? Who knows? We're gonna have to sit here and wait it out and see. The Mayday one is interesting and I think totally plausible since this is still the multiverse saga and like everything being said about this movie, I feel like they really just want to use multiverse elements, and
Mhm.
that's a good one. I mean, hey, look, this is potentially what your life could look like in the future. You have a daughter who's adopted your powers because in the end you ended up marrying MJ, and so that kind of would put Peter on a weird track to like look towards it. And people have brought up this topic before, and I've wondered about it if they're ever going to address it. But like the fact that he met other versions of his, iconic villains: Green Goblin, Doctor Octopus, Sandman, um, Electro, and oh my, and the Lizard, right? So
Yeah.
like people talk about, well, is he going to try to prevent that? I don't know, but seeing
Mhm.
how he might find out about this Mayday, what could that mean? Would he push harder to try to get MJ back and let her remember who he is? I don't know.
Mhm. Yeah, no, that's where things get really interesting because as I'm thinking about where this movie's going, we've heard like at one point, oh, they're gonna take the grounded route. We might get that Daredevil and Wilson Fisk story in a Spider-Man movie, and then it goes to, oh no, we're gonna do the multiverse. And it seemed like there was this push and pull between Sony and Marvel Studios, kind of saying like, hey, we both want different things. And in the end, I think honestly, what fell into Sony's favor was just the way things fell into the schedule with Spider-Man 4 now having to be post Avengers Doomsday. So we are likely going to be in Battle World, and in all likelihood, this is going to have to be some kind of multiverse story. It's I don't see them doing the Ant-Man not Quantumania, Ant-Man and the Wasp thing where they go back and do a prequel kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening. So yeah, I think the multiverse makes sense under this context. And as far as Black Cat, Felicia Hardy, I think that would be a fun idea, honestly. I love that. But Mayday in the context of the multiverse probably might make a little more sense. And honestly, it's more about how do you utilize it. What is the role of Mayday in this story? How is she going to serve Peter Parker's character? Because we left him in a very vulnerable and potentially dark place, with the idea of all these rumors out here that he might be going down the Robert Pattinson as Batman route, where he's more Batman than Bruce Wayne, and now it might be he is mostly just Spider-Man, not Peter Parker anymore. Can you still have that message ring true in this multiverse story? I'm sure you could. I just don't know what the path is to still have those themes resonate properly while playing in this multiversal sandbox that, Sony is really going to want to do a lot of different things with. So, yeah, I think Mayday makes the most sense. It's more of just how does it serve the story? That's really what I'm trying to determine right now. What about
And
you?
what is this story at this point?
Right.
Like I've heard at least 6 or 7 different variations of what the story is supposed to be, which is fine. I mean, whenever they get it down, they'll get it down and film it. I don't know. It's kind of hard to speculate when we know so little, and then what we do know changes by the every other week. So, I mean, I think it's awesome that they got her. She's obviously a great actress. She's done some great work on Stranger Things, and I'm excited to see how they use her, and I'm excited for her to get her big break. I know she's done one other thing, which is Odessa, some sort of musical. So, clearly she's got some talent that she's getting other roles. They're not just grabbing her because she's got red hair.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see how she does because that's a really big gig to get. I mean, Spider-Man, like coming
Mhm.
off of a TV show on Netflix, like congrats to her first off. I mean,
Yeah.
clearly there's something special about her and they put her up there for it. So I'm looking forward to seeing what she does. And I'm sure there's going to be set photos and behind the scenes and
Hmm.
everything. And it's cool because I think she's probably younger than Tom, right? But she's within his age
Yeah.
range. So
Hmm.
that'll be neat to see him with interact with somebody that isn't Ned, isn't MJ.
Yes.
So it's
Yeah,
always cool to
no.
see Peter get new companions or new friends, I guess.
I agree. And honestly, that was the thing I was most looking forward to with this next series of Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, whether it be in the multiverse or outside of the multiverse, him being able to interact with a new set of friends, whether it be he meets them at college or in the case of Mayday, could be someone through the multiverse. And I think having these new companions around him could be really interesting as, he's probably trying to distance himself from his old friends, both Ned and obviously his girlfriend at the time, MJ, Michelle Jones. So I'm curious to see how they would even factor into the story if this is a multiversal tale, which it's seeming more and more likely. Potentially, maybe. It's I'm so stuck on it. I keep thinking about like how they're gonna do it, but then I tell myself don't think too hard because half the time they haven't even known, honestly. They've been working on this script for so long and they've had so many different ideas I think they've thrown at the wall. It's like all the rumors we've heard, I'm willing to bet a lot of them are probably true, as ridiculous as some of them sound, because I'm sure a lot of things were at least discussed
Hmm.
and even considered being part of a script, and then they're thrown away as they say, "Oh no, we can't do this, don't do that," and then Marvel's plans change, and then Sony has to adjust to that, and so on and so forth. There's been so many script rumors with this movie, and I think that's for a multitude of reasons, including that. And as far as Sadie Sink, I am very happy for her as well. She's a fantastic actress. I loved her in The Whale. That was the movie that really made me go like, "Whoa."
That's right, she was in that.
Yeah, I love The Whale. That was a fantastic Darren Aronofsky movie, and she was brilliant in it. And looking at her work as a whole, she is clearly a very, very talented actress who could add a lot to this franchise. Her in Spider-Man 4 is a big gig, and they saw something like you said, and it's pretty obvious why. I mean, the talent's apparent, and I think she's only going to get better if she keeps getting these kind of roles. So I'm hoping it is Mayday just because I have this idea of, oh my God, if it's Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker, if that's his daughter alongside Kirsten Dunst MJ, I can honestly see that very much. Like
Yeah,
just
yeah.
looking at them honestly,
Hmm.
like I buy into it. And I'm like, I'm here for that story if it's done right. So, hey, Sony, if that's the idea, even though multiverse wasn't the route I would have gone, I'm open-minded to it because in the end, I just want a good story. I don't care how you do it. Just give me a good story. In the end, all else is going to be forgiven, honestly. So do that.
Now, one thing I do wonder before we move on to another topic
Yeah.
is if she is indeed the daughter of Toby and Kirsten,
Mhm.
do you think we'll see them? Even if it's a glimpse.
Yeah, I'd bet so. I mean, I think Sony is making it clear that they. I mean, that was one of the talks that we were hearing a while ago that they really wanted to find a way to get Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield back into both the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies as well as probably in the Across the Spider-Verse franchise, probably in the next one Beyond, I believe it's called.
Yes.
As well as yeah, I'm sure they're going to be in Secret Wars. I mean, as long as Sony's going to pay, I think they're going to do it. And Sony has incentive to pay because as No Way Home proved, people are going to show up to see Tobey Maguire and or Andrew Garfield in any movie as Spider-Man.
I sure did.
Like right, I definitely did. I went 3 times, and I don't go 3 times very often to any movie. So that's
Even
where
my
we're
friends
at.
that weren't like watching Marvel heavily, they went and saw it. They're like, "Man, it's Tobey Maguire. Like that's my childhood." I mean, like that's a lot of people's childhood. It's definitely mine.
Mhm.
I saw Spider-Man 2 in theaters when it came out. I remember that vividly. And
Wow.
3. I saw 2 and 3 when they came out in theaters. For Spider-Man 1, though, I had it on, hear me out, VHS, the red one.
Me too. I had the same one. Yeah.
Oh man.
Wow. Yeah, man. Those were fun times. But
Yeah.
I guess we can go to topic 2, right?
Yeah. So well, I'd say this is a pretty big one just because it's exciting to hear more happening. But the Lanterns casting Jason Ritter.
Hmm.
He's playing a role of Billy Macon,
Yeah.
described as a good-looking charmer who does his father's bidding. Capitalizing on his family's reputation, he clings to his small-town ego and has everything to lose. Now, I'm going to be honest. I know pretty much nothing about the Green Lanterns. It's one character I've never spent any time reading anything on. So this one's probably going to be mostly led by you.
Okay.
But the thing here is you know the log line of the show is that they're going to be in the American heartland investigating a murder, kind of like True Detective style. I'm wondering what city they're going to. That's really my first question.
Right. I'd imagine somewhere down south is going to be what they're doing. Just the vibe I'm getting from everything we've been reading, like small town, probably in like a rural kind of area. That screams probably. I think they said American Heartland was the exact phrase they used. So I'd imagine out west, down south, somewhere in that range is where we're gonna be looking at. And I've had a long, not even, actually that's the thing. It's been a short comic journey for me. I've been reading comics only for like maybe a year and a half, 2 years. I started pretty late on that, but I have read some Green Lantern stuff. Not as much as I'm sure a lot of other people, but I'm still kind of getting into a wide variety of comics. But the stuff I've read, I've loved, and I tried looking up at the time John Stewart comics, and I had trouble. Like he doesn't really have like a singular run of his own
Right.
comics, which was surprising to me because as in my childhood, I knew him as the Green Lantern more than anybody because of the animated series with Justice
Yep.
League. That was what I grew up on. I watched that all the time, and seeing that he's going to be the lead here and really the Green Lantern of the future. In this case, of the way they're building out the DCU, we're going to have Hal Jordan as the older veteran Green Lantern, and Hal Jordan as the rookie trainee kind of guy. So
Mhm.
I think that's going to be a really fun dynamic, especially with this cast. I mean, Aaron Pierre is a superstar in the making right now. You know,
Definitely.
after seeing Rebel Ridge, I could not believe how perfect he was for the role. Even before anyone mentioned that fan cast, I knew immediately, like, oh, this guy is like perfect. And I was so happy to see him cast. Kyle Chandler is also a fantastic fit. But looking at this casting, this is a case where we're gonna get some characters that are purely or I'm pretty original, I think. I don't think Billy Macon is a comic book character, is he?
I'm not familiar. I can
Yeah.
run a quick search because I always like to know for sure.
Yeah, check, but I don't think he is unless it's just a character I don't know, which is possible for sure. But
Yeah, no, the only thing that pulls up is literally this insert about this character in him
okay.
in the show. So okay, that's
Right. So there's gonna
there's a
be some new
William,
stuff. Oh, William. Okay.
but that might be his father.
Yeah, okay, I know they mentioned the father, so that might be his father, and this is
William Macon is a self-righteous cowboy and a conspiracy-minded man who masks his ruthless
ah
ambition behind a charming and calculated facade.
okay. Well, that seems to line up with
Yeah, that's
where
his
the
dad.
series is going. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if yeah, this will be the son, and I don't know as too much about what they seem to be going for plot wise. Beyond again, there's going to be a mystery and there's a true detective vibe to what they're doing. Beyond that, it's kind of limited as far as specific plot details. I know that they cast Hal Jordan's mom as well in the series recently, I believe, and they also I believe they're having a relationship where like Hal Jordan's like dating a much or has some type of relationship with a much older woman, if I recall correctly. I think that was the word
Sheriff
out
or
there.
something of the city, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like again, right now we're kind of in the dark as far as the specifics of everything, but I mean, I don't do you know the actor very well? I honestly am not familiar with Jason
Not at
Momoa.
all.
Okay.
That's the thing that gets me. But he's had some decent roles. He was in Matlock,
Okay.
opposite of Kathy Bates. He's going to be in the second season of Poker Face. Known for Joan of Arcadia, Kevin probably saves the world, Parenthood, and Raising Dion. He's also been in Frozen 2. So
Oh.
dude's done some work. I mean, I'm not familiar with him at all, but he looks like the part of a guy who's. I mean, he looks like people I've lived with in small towns because I've lived in a few small
Yeah.
towns myself. I mean, this looks like the guy who gets pulled over and says, "Do you know who my father is?" Definitely looks that part.
Okay.
I'm excited for Lanterns. I've got this like really good deep feeling that it's going to be like a sleeper hit
Hmm.
because everyone's just kind of like it's not in the forefront of the mind. I mean, even just that one image they shared got me really excited because it's just the two of them, Hal and uh,
Um
John. Sorry, you
yeah.
just
Oh
blanked
well,
out for a
yeah.
moment. Yeah,
I
and it
realized
just
I said how wait, did I say the name right before? Did I say John Stewart? I don't think I did. If I messed that up, I'm sorry, everybody. I'm on
I
low
think you
sleep.
got it.
Okay. I know it's John Stewart. I just might have misspoke
Yeah.
before.
But I feel like since it's not like this huge out there in space story that they're just localizing a small city or town, whatever, that it's got a lot of potential because then they can focus really on the dynamic between the two. I mean, that's a big apprentice and mentor relationship that can really be explored if they're not too busy out there with all the visual effects and everything else. They can just focus on a good story rather than trying to make this epic in space uh, story.
Hmm.
But you know, all we know is that they're doing a couple things, and then we've seen one image. So I
Right.
don't know how far out this show is. I'm assuming next year.
Yeah, the plan right now is supposed to be like pretty early in 2026. That's the anticipated date before sometime before Supergirl. So I'd
Okay.
imagine probably in that maybe March, February range, just a guess. But yeah, looking at what they're doing, like you said, they are going to be on Earth for most of the series, seemingly. Although we do have some lanterns that are known to be in the series. We know we're going to get Sinestro as well, which is a big deal,
Oh
obviously.
wow.
Yeah, you didn't see that?
No,
Oh,
I've
okay,
just not been paying so much attention to things because I miss the days of being surprised
I
rather
respect
than
that.
so like and also I've just been busy with school and everything else and I'm just
Yep.
like if I see it great like the Sergeant Rock one I mean it blew up. I could not see that one, but some of these other things have passed by.
Mhm. Yeah, so we do have a Sinestro officially cast in this series, which is interesting. I didn't expect that, honestly.
Oh,
And looking at what they're doing, I think they're kind of doing actually. kind of what the MCU did early on in the sense that I remember Kevin Feige talking about how to approach a movie like Thor, for example, because Thor, a lot of that story you could have just done on Asgard.
Right.
And he said basically, like, we're very early in this universe, and I really want people to connect to the characters. So I think having him spend a lot of this story on Earth is a good place for him to start before we build out to all these other places and all these other things. So let's start him there for most of the movie, although we're going to show some of Asgard. I think they're kind of
Right.
taking that same approach with Lanterns, where we are going to see some of the stuff in space, I'm sure. I'm 100% sure even. But like most of the story will be on Earth, and I think that's going to be good for the more casual viewers that want to connect to it a bit more and maybe get to know these people. And then by the time they do that, assuming they really connect with the characters, which I believe they will, because I believe in the writing team here. I think that by the time you get to a season two, if you decide to do more stuff in space with these characters, I think it's going to be an easier buy for these people because they've already decided, like, hey, I support these characters, I support this team of creatives, let's keep going.
Hmm.
So I think that's a smart place to start off. And, I have no objections. I know there's been a lot of debate over that, whether or not it makes sense to start on the ground on Earth. And I'm like, in the end, again, I always say this, and I'm sure people get tired of it, but I believe this is the most important thing. Give me a good story. If you give me a good story, the rest doesn't mean that much, especially in the context of DC, where they're not trying to do this overarching narrative where one thing has to be in a particular setting or connect to a certain thing. They're not doing that. It's just individual stories that have the idea of doing world building, not story building. So when you consider that, I think, as long as it's good, who cares? That's kind of where I'm at.
Absolutely. So shifting to another piece of DC news, and it's
Yeah.
probably the bigger one, but I'd say, yeah, this one's definitely bigger. But it came out so late that like it literally just came out yesterday. It's
Mhm.
that Colin Farrell's in talks to star in Sergeant Rock.
Yeah.
Now that's I'm sure it's still developing, so it's kind of hard to really say like, oh, we can definitely talk about this because he's him. I mean,
Yeah.
they're like the title says, it's in talks. I
Yes.
mean, so for all we know, next week or what was it, a month ago, it was almost Daniel Craig, right?
Right, and then we had Jeremy Allen White who was in talks, and there's been a couple other names. Although I do think this one is, out of all of them, the most likely to stick. However, they did make it clear though that there are some legitimate scheduling issues that could come into play.
Hmm.
Although if they figure those out, I have no doubt it will work out. I believe Colin Farrell wants to do it. They even said that in the article. It's not about a desire at this point, and his cost isn't going to be anything outrageous. He'll make good money, but he's not going to demand as much money as a lot of other stars would. So I don't see why it wouldn't work out if the schedules line up. But it's been a hot topic on the internet. Like a lot of people are not thrilled about the idea, actually.
Well, we know why, because he was just recently
Yeah.
playing, the Penguin, and he had a
Yes.
really incredible show that just came out that did really well,
Mhm.
and you know, it gave well, I wouldn't even say a glimpse, but it what's the word here? It mentioned Batman 2, not really. I mean, all we got was that was
Yeah.
the skylight, but I
Yes.
mean, there's something from this series is influencing the events that are going to happen in the Batman 2.
Mhm.
Obviously, I mean, you don't just turn that beacon on for no reason. You have to have a really good reason to turn that light on. But I think that's what's really catching people up the most is that he's been playing Penguin for the last, or well, for two appearances now, and people feel a certain way because they're like, well, what about the confusion? What about this? He played this, he played that, and I don't know. As we know, the Batman is disconnected from the rest of
Hmm.
DC, so it doesn't honestly really matter. I mean,
Hmm.
um, Ryan Reynolds was Green Lantern a long time ago, and now he's known as Deadpool. Does that stop anybody from enjoying Deadpool? Absolutely not.
Hmm.
Hell, he even went out of his way to go make a joke about it.
Right.
So I don't know. I kind of like whatever about it, but we'll
Yeah.
see.
I get that. And I get the point by some people, they're making the case that both things would be running at the same time, which, it is fair, but
Yeah.
at the same time, at least for me, as I look at it, I care about immersion when it comes to acting choices. Like, if Colin Farrell looked like Colin Farrell in Penguin and it was running at the same time, I would have much more of an issue personally
Yep.
because I wouldn't be as lost in it. I want to be lost in the role. Like when I watch Penguin, I'm not seeing Colin Farrell, honestly. I'm really not. Because it doesn't sound like him, it doesn't look like
Nope.
him. Nothing about that character feels like Colin Farrell. So if I'm seeing Colin Farrell looking a lot more like himself, which I'm sure he would in Sergeant Rock, then it's not gonna like mess with me on like that immersive level. I'm gonna be seeing the character Sergeant Rock. I'm not gonna be looking at him and saying, "Oh, that's Penguin," because they don't give off the same energy at all, and they don't look alike or sound alike at all. So like for that reason, I don't mind. And he's a fantastic actor who I'm sure is gonna be able to put a spin on this character that doesn't even remotely make you think of Penguin. So yeah, I'm open to it for sure. If it works out, awesome. Um, the only reason why I wouldn't want it at all for any reason would be like just to avoid these kind of conversations, honestly.
Yeah.
Because these
Yeah.
conversations, they get tiring, and I hate having to have these with people. Like, yeah, I know it's gonna confuse people, yada yada yada. But like, in the end, it's kind of whatever if he's a good fit for the role. And again, it's not going to mess with the immersive factor for people, which again, I don't think it's going to for the reasons I stated before.
Yeah. No, I fully agree. I mean, he's fully transformed into the Penguin. I mean, it's not like this is a dude with a New York accent, really
Mhm.
heavy New York accent up there, and then versus a guy who's going to be a lot more grizzled, set 70, 80, 90 years before the events that are happening in this. I mean, it's not comparable at all. It's a totally different timeline. Now, if it was concurrent, maybe to be like, okay, what the hell? But
Yeah.
this is going to be a very different guy overall, and in really everything about it is going to be completely different. There's nothing because he's going to be a sergeant. He's going to be a fit military guy versus an overweight, you know, dude with a limp.
Yes.
Like, come on, man, get real.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I know you're right. It's not comparable really when you think about it. Um,
Yeah.
all right. What do we got
So
next?
the next thing is it's a little bit of old news, but it's because it's recently happening. Is that Vision just started filming recently?
Right.
Really, what I linked was the fact that they got Ferran Tahir to reprise his role, and he was in the very first MCU movie
Mhm.
as the leader of the Ten Rings, the guy who had forced Tony and Yinsen to develop the Jericho weapon for him.
Mhm.
So I'm excited because I mean I love it when they bring back people after like a long time. Like they did the same thing with Yinsen. They brought him back in Iron Man 3 in a
Yes.
flashback. And it was like a throwaway line when they were talking there in the cave, like, oh well, we met this one time in Burn. Okay. And then you actually see them meet in Burn, come back. I mean that's neat, especially stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, I'm wondering what his role is gonna be. I
Uh,
mean, I know he's going to play the same character. What I
yeah.
mean is what's his involvement? Because obviously this is about weapons in some capacity. So like, I honestly thought the guy was dead. I thought that Obadiah Stane had killed him. So it's interesting to see that he's back.
Right. Yeah, I thought my interpretation at the time was that he was dead too. Evidently, he's not. But unless he is dead and it's somehow like a figment of someone's imagination or I don't know. But I'm it's interesting because I look back at the Tom King run actually of the Visions, and that's like one of my favorite comics ever out of everything I've read so far. Honestly, it might be the number one for me. It's like really good and.
I'm going to have to read it. I'll
Yeah,
put it
no,
on the list.
it's fantastic, truly. I look at that and I'm like, how much of that are they going to adapt? Because we've heard that like Vision, I have a daughter in this series. I believe that's even close to confirmed at this point. So like we're going to get a family for Vision.
Mhm.
So how much of that is going to be real, I guess? Because like how would he even have a family in this context? Like where did they come from? Like, did he make them? Did someone else make them? Is it this like some a WandaVision situation where it's in his mind and it's not real? Or I guess in that case it kind of was real, but the same principle though, like is what's the trickery around all this? There's James Spader's going to be back
Yeah.
apparently as Ultron in some
God, I'm
capacity.
so excited
I
about
know,
that.
dude.
Oh,
That's
James
so
Spader.
cool.
Oh man, I really loved how in Ultron that they used his, mannerisms for Ultron's mannerisms. Like there was one scene where he turns his head back and he's like, "You really don't know," and I'm like, "That is just James Spader,"
Mhm.
because in a weird way, it reminded me of his character Robert California in
Yeah.
the Office. But I mean, that's who he is. So I'm excited about this show. This looks like it's gonna similar to like Lanterns. It'll be a a sleeper hit because it's got some cool stuff going on. I mean, we've wondered what the hell happened to Vision. It's been 4 years since WandaVision happened and he
Yeah.
ran off. So what's he been doing this whole time? And what's he is he going to come back and be part of a bigger story? He's going to show up in Doomsday or Secret Wars to help him out. I mean,
Hmm.
he's formidable. He's not just a robot. He can fight. He can do a lot. He can phase through things. Like
Hmm.
I want to see him come back and do something. So I'm wondering, are we setting him up for something bigger, or are we just figuring out, hey, he's been doing this for a while, and this is what's up?
Right, that's a good question. I Paul Bettany absolutely knocked it out of the park in WandaVision. Honestly, he
Yes.
was for me, he was the highlight of that show because he was always good before WandaVision, but I don't think he ever had like the best opportunity to really show what he can do in that role prior, at least on that level. He showed so much versatility in WandaVision, playing the same character through all these different eras, and it was so impressive, honestly, with the performance he gave. But yeah, I think that they're going to incorporate some elements of West Coast Avengers. I know that's been a rumor out there, and I do think in some way that will happen. And looking at, or even Young Avengers, looking at what we've seen in some of that leaked concept art, not to spoil much, but he is alongside other characters in that leaked concept art that are younger Avengers characters. And given what we know about the series and things that have been rumored, I think that could add up that perhaps they're going to somehow be part of this series, or maybe towards the end of the series they show up. I don't know how they're going to do that, but I guess the big question is more about what the core of this series is going to be. Is it going to be centered on him and his family like we've been hearing it might be? Because if that's the case, I'm all for that, and
Yeah.
is James Spader going to be like part of the family as like an uncle figure or something?
Oh man, imagine.
Are they gonna do something kind of creative like that, or is he still gonna be like regular Ultron back somehow? Like that, there's so many different ways they can incorporate elements of these different comic series and runs into this to make it interesting. And in the case of the Vision series, like the by Tom King, you have like a murder mystery, not even a murder mystery, but you have like I'll say robots gone wrong kind of in parts
Mhm.
of it, and it leads to a lot of drama with other Avengers characters. And I wonder if that could come into play, as well as like Vision sending his kids off to like a regular school and they're bullied because they're different. Like they have like these lot of different ideas that are like so inventive and ambitious, honestly. Like I'd love to see some of that in a MCU series. So I'm hoping they take more than a little bit from that run, to put it gently. But if they
Okay.
don't, I hope they came up with a really creative idea because I know that they got a pretty good showrunner on this, or director, if I recall right. I think someone from one of the well-regarded Star Trek series, if I remember right. I can't remember the name, but um, uh, yeah, it's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't quite remember.
Terry Matalas.
Yeah, yeah, that was it.
He did Picard.
Right, and I think people really like. I'm not a big Star Trek person, but I believe people really like that series.
Yeah, yeah. It did well. So I mean, it was an exciting, what do you call it, hiring for Marvel to get somebody who very well versed in television, especially since that was a streaming original for Paramount Plus, and obviously this is going to be a Disney Plus series. Exciting to see them grabbing really good talent for stuff like this.
Yes,
Yeah. So I'm excited for this show. I'm glad we don't know much. I mean, sometimes that
yes.
makes it so much better. The only thing that they mention in this article is that it is believed to be centered on Vision as he tries to regain his memory and humanity. So I'm wondering,
Right.
on that second part, the humanity, is it him being involved in a family?
Hmm.
Does he regain his memory in the end? Does he regain his humanity? Those are good questions that I have a good feeling they're going to answer them.
Yes. No, I completely agree, and that's awesome because he deserves that spotlight. Vision, fantastic character, played by a great actor. I'm like you said, this is going to be a sleeper series. I think once people see it, they're really going to be blown away, and it's
Yeah.
not going to be something anyone expects because most people don't really. I mean, people care about Vision, but they're more Wanda fans than Vision fans.
The only thing I
See,
worry about is more people
yeah,
saying is watching it solely for the fact that Wanda might appear. I really
right.
hope that doesn't do that because I know there was a handful of people that did that for Agatha. They only cared about it because they wanted to see Wanda. They didn't care
Hmm.
about Agatha. But
Right.
you know.
That's fair. All right, guess we can go on to the next topic.
So yeah, the last one, and it was the one that you sent me yesterday about Superman, the
Yes.
runtime and the test screening that was held recently.
Right.
Now,
There's a lot here. Yeah, you can go first.
there's no not like there's a lot, but the first thing they mention is that the current runtime is roughly 2 hours and 20 minutes long, and that some of the jokey moments that were mentioned before on the Hot Mic podcast
Mhm.
uh, were viewed out of context, but they work much better within the flow of the edit. So they're comparing it to how Gunn balanced the humor and the drama in the Suicide Squad, saying it has genuinely funny moments, but also knows when to drop the shtick and get serious.
Mhm.
So I'm I've been on board since the beginning. I'm really excited for Superman. I mean, David Cornsweet is a perfect casting. Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane to me is the most perfect casting because I have the biggest crush on the planet on her. Can't help it. But I've seen her before. I mean, I've watched her. She's in Marvelous Miss Maisel. I haven't seen that, but I watched her in House of Cards, and she
Okay.
was incredible in that show. And I was just like, wow, this woman can act. And
Mhm.
then she obviously got so many nominations for her role in the Marvelous Miss Maisel. So I know she can do it, and especially playing like a really fun, not exactly damsel in distress, but like a damsel who can also hold her own and is a force of her own as Lois Lane. It's just really exciting. So
Mhm.
2 hours, 20 minutes. That's, yeah, decent on par with most superhero movies. So, I
Right.
mean, honestly, runtimes don't matter to me. Sometimes I prefer shorter, less than 2 hours, because it
Mhm.
feels like there's padding sometimes. I watched Novocaine and it was less than 2 hours. And even then, I felt like it was 10 minutes too long.
Interesting. Okay. No, that's fair. And you know what? As you look at movies in the genre, it all depends on like what story you're trying to tell. Some of them require that longer runtime, of course. You look at like
Infinity War, Endgame,
right.
that makes total sense.
Yes.
You have so many, juggling balls you're doing that you're just like,
Yes.
okay, everybody needs a little bit of time. But when you're like kind of
Mhm.
more focused in on this, but Superman does have like pretty
Yes.
decently sized cast. You have Superman, Lois Lane, Jimmy Olsen, Lex Luthor, Mr. Terrific,
Yeah.
Hawk Girl, Guy Gardner,
Hmm.
that big ass kaiju.
Yes.
I mean, that's a lot.
You know, it's a lot of characters, and that's why I think the movie definitely needs not like a crazy long runtime necessarily, but like over 2 hours for sure.
Yeah.
If it was less than 2 hours, I'd be a little worried given how much they have to do seemingly in this movie. But 2 hours and 20 minutes, even if that was with credits, and seemingly this number would be without credits if it's even accurate. So it'd probably be closer technically like 2 hour 30 minutes runtime officially, 2 hours 20
Hmm.
footage. But I think that's good. And I will say, I will caution everybody. I've been saying this both to the good and bad reactions as they were coming out. Like, take test screenings right now with a grain of salt. Like, you just don't know. So much changes during an edit. And also, on top of that, you just don't know who's saying what and also what taste they have, what agenda they have.
Yep.
Like, there's no way of knowing. Even in this case, like I'm like, I hope it's right, obviously, and I'm optimistic about the movie because I believe in James Gunn. But as far as looking at like this reaction in particular, I'm like, before this one, the last reaction from Jeff Snyder was he heard from his best source it was bad, and then literally like a day or two before that, he heard from another source he heard it was pretty good and much better than before. And then the time before that, he heard it was bad. So it's like you're going back and forth between different people on different cuts of a movie. And it's like you can only put so much stock into that right now, honestly. Like there's gonna come a point, obviously, where like you can read the tea leaves and you can tell where it's heading. Like that's how it
Yeah.
was for me, at least with like Captain America Brave New World, where like
Yeah.
eventually it was reported by trades even that like, yeah, the screenings are not going well. And that's where you can start to like put more stock into it. But as far as like a single person saying, "Hey, I heard this from X person at this stage of the game," especially
And
when
that's one person.
yeah,
That's
right,
one.
one person,
One.
right,
Yeah. Like,
yeah, like
if you were to step out of your house and ask one person one thing, is that like the definitive thing about it? Probably not. Like, you have to really, and like you said, there's so many different tastes, agendas. There's also kind of like the little bit that Jeff has a thing with James. So
yes,
I kind of,
I know what you mean. I feel the same
yeah,
way. Yeah,
yeah. I'm
like
just like, I understand why he says some of the things he does. And there's a particular reason. And, that's why it's kind of hard. I'm like, somebody said it, quality isn't really a scoop because it's an
yes,
opinion at the end of the day. You
yes,
know, I think some things are awful and I think some things are amazing. Does that make that any more or less weighted to somebody else? Maybe.
right,
That's on them because that's my
mhm,
opinion.
right. Yeah,
But
you're totally right.
to go on to the second part though, the fact that they mentioned that it balanced the humor and drama, like in the Suicide Squad, now that excites me because that movie was funny,
Mhm.
really funny sometimes, and then the moments when it got really serious, it did that well too. And especially with like Superman, Superman isn't a quippy guy. He doesn't say he's a very serious character. He knows what he stands for, what he believes in, and he does everything in his power to do those things. So I'm wondering who's going to be the funny one in this movie.
Mhm. Right. Honestly, as I look at that, I see like a lot of clear routes for humor, very honestly. And I hope there is a lot of humor within reason, though. It has to be played off in a very natural way, not where humor's forced. And that's sometimes where I do feel Marvel could do that in certain cases, not to try to hammer that on that because, that's not always the case. And I do feel that is overblown sometimes. But there are certainly cases where I do feel the Marvel humor doesn't feel genuine. It feels very forced into the script. So like
It's
I'm
like they're
hope
afraid of
yeah.
silence sometimes. It's
Yes.
the best way to explain. Like they're so scared. Oh no, no one's clapping. Let's make
Yeah,
them
yeah.
laugh real quick. Let's say something silly. Like
Right.
no, no. Like sometimes you need to let those sink in and just
Yes.
you have to sit with it. You're like you have a moment someone dies and they're like, well, they should have dodged, and it's like,
Uh-huh.
why? Let me sit with that moment for a minute.
Yes, my
But
moment of that always in Marvel, not to get too off track, but was always in Shang-Chi actually, where he's having the flashback. He's ta telling Katie this whole story about his like emotional journey growing up with his father, or the pain he's been through, and the flight attendant interrupts him and says, "Did you want the chicken or the beef or something?" And,
yeah,
and it
yeah,
like cuts the
exactly. That's exactly it.
and it cuts all the tension that I felt in that moment, and I was like, "Oh
Yeah.
man!" Like that. Like those are the kind of moments I don't like it. Like that's
Yeah.
where it bothers me. But
Especially when you have a momentum, sorry, especially when you
yeah,
have
go
that
go.
momentum going
Yes.
into that. Because I mean, like you said, it was really heavy. And like Superman has so many cool things. Like he has to deal with the fact that his father dies and he can't do nothing about it. He has to go up against a world that thinks he's an alien. He's not of this world, and that at any moment he could turn and kill them all, and there's nobody that could stop him. Then you have to deal with Lex Luthor, who's just a very angry, jealous, bitter person who decides to do certain things to make Superman look bad so he can make himself look good. It's like these are serious things. I mean, these are reflective of our world as a whole.
Mhm.
So Superman is a beacon, and I want to see him do that and not devolve into like, well, let me crack a joke real quick. Like, no, I can already tell by some of the footage from the trailers that it's just going to be super serious. I mean, like that.
Yes.
It starts with him completely beat up, and
Mhm.
he's not like cracking a joke. He calls for help. He whistles to Crypto to come and dig him out of the snow because he's just so done for.
Right. And in a moment like that, for example, the laughs and the humor come from Crypto being this cute dog coming to rescue him. But that's like a natural in the moment laugh, not like we're inserting a joke.
Yeah.
That's part of the scene, and that's how the humor works best. And that's where I think they're going to succeed because there's a lot of easy places for humor, honestly, whether it be in the relationship between Clark and Lois, there's a lot of room for humor, obviously. I think in the Daily Planet as a whole, like I would love if they can capture some of the same energy we had at like the Daily Bugle and the original Raimi trilogy.
Yeah.
Like I looked forward to those scenes so much when I watched those movies. And that's how I know they did so well because I love those side characters in the Daily Bugle, down to like the smallest characters. And like
Mhm.
that kind of stuff, I want to see them capture that in this new Superman movie with the Daily Planet. I want a really iconic feeling cast here. It doesn't matter that they're not all the biggest names. They just provide laughs and they feel fun and there's good chemistry between those people in the office. And obviously, there's also going to be some humor, I'm sure, to be found with Guy Gardner. Listening to what we heard already, he's going to be a jerk, and that's a big part of the character. Obviously, it doesn't mean he's just going to be a joke the whole time. Every run is different. They treat the character differently. Some treat him as just a jerk. Some add a little bit more layers to him, have some more sympathy towards his background and how he grew up. And I'm sure that could come into play eventually. But as far as like his first appearance, I'm sure it's going to be mostly rooted in him being a jerk and being an annoyance to Superman among other characters, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of humor there. So like, there's clear places to add humor, so I don't get why anyone would be worried about humor being in the movie. I think I it should be encouraged as long as you place it in the right spots. But yeah, no, I'm really excited about what they're doing. I'm optimistic again, not because of this test screening report, but just because I trust James Gunn and I to this point, just for me, he has yet to really fail, honestly. At least,
Yeah,
like, I know some people feel differently. He has not failed me yet, at least as a fan.
right.
I love every Guardians project. I love the Suicide Squad, and Peacemaker is like to me a 10 out of 10 show. I adore that show. I love it more than the Suicide Squad movie, honestly. So like
And don't
I
forget Creature Commandos, which was
yeah, right.
also
Yes,
incredible.
yes. Oh my God, Creature Commandos too. Amazing project. So like I have all the faith in the world in him, and regardless of what I hear of test screenings, I have a strong feeling at the bare minimum, I am going to really like this movie
Yeah.
because I trust him and his vision and what he's building right now. So, yeah, I mean that's my take on it. Do you have anything else you want to add on this?
I'm just really excited about the cast. I mean, you got Michaela Hoover, you have crap, now I forgot his name. The guy who's playing Jimmy Olsen, but I love him because
Oh, yeah, never mind. It's on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember.
he's in Righteous Gemstones, which is one of my favorite TV shows ever. And he plays Gideon, the son of the lead character. And he gets a lot of serious moments, but a lot of funny ones too. And I'm like, man, they really did a great job in casting. He looks the part. He's young still, and he's got the chops to do both the comedy and serious. I mean, he's going to be out there with Lois and Clark doing like heavy stuff, but I'm sure he's going to have a lot of very funny moments within that office.
Yes.
Um, yeah, I'm just really excited about the cast,
Oh,
and like you
this,
were saying
yeah,
that Guy Gardner is supposed to be one of the funnier ones. Well, yeah, they got Nathan Fillion, so I can totally
yes.
see he's going to be probably mostly either the comedic relief or at least one of the more comedic characters. You
Mhm.
know, as long as they just keep Lex Luthor from saying silly stuff, I'm pretty much satisfied.
Yes, and now I see it. The actor's name was Skylar Gisondo.
Skyler, that's
Yes,
right.
I couldn't remember, but that was the name. And you're right. Lex Luthor is the one character I really don't want any humor. Honestly, I don't think he needs to be comedic, and I'm looking forward to a fresh take on Lex Luthor because look, I know some people enjoy the Jesse Eisenberg take, and that's fine. I'm happy some people got enjoyment out of that. It just didn't work for me, at least. I didn't really resonate with his portrayal of Lex Luthor. I prefer a much more stern, confident Lex that isn't like talking at super rapid paces and like
Yeah,
it was just a lot. It felt like he was playing his character from The Social Network almost a lot, and
a
it was like
little bit.
again, honestly, in a lot of moments in the way he was acting, and it was a little, except maybe like a little more unhinged, but otherwise the same kind of approach. And to me, that's just not Lex Luthor. And to this point, we've had some good portrayals of Lex Luthor. My favorite being probably from Smallville, Rosenbaum, and
Mhm.
also honestly, I did like Cutlets a lot in Smallville. I thought he did a really not Smallville, sorry, Superman and Lois. I thought he did a really good job. I liked his portrayal, but as far as the movies, there hasn't been one that I really like loved, at least on the level of a lot of other villain roles. Gene Hackman obviously did a really good job for the time and what it was supposed to be. I think he
Mhm.
did really good, but it wasn't even there though. It wasn't like my interpretation of Lex Luthor, and I think
Right.
that Nicholas Hoult is really going to bring that to the table. He's a fantastic actor. I love
It
him in
really is. Yeah.
literally everything I have seen him in. He always knocks it out of the park, and I feel like he commits so hard to every role. And if he could add this kind of serious layer to Lex that I've been looking for, I am going to be beyond pleased. And just looking at the trailer, he looks pissed off in basically every shot, and I adore that because he's
That
supposed to
means
be
he's the real
right.
Lex Luthor right there. I
Yes,
mean, that
he's
looks it
biggest hater, the biggest Superman hater. I want to feel that, and I
bigger
feel
than
that.
Kendrick with Drake.
Yes, even bigger. Like if he could write a diss track, it would be
Oh, he
so much
would.
harsher than Kendrick's. Honestly, it'd be worse than Kendrick's. That's how much this guy hates Superman, and I'm hoping we can feel that in the movie, and I really think we're going to right now. So yeah, man, this is so exciting that we get to discuss this right now because
I'm so excited for this summer, man.
yeah,
Like
we're so
we got
close.
Thunderbolts, we got Fantastic Four, and Superman all within. Man, I was sitting there watching Mickey 17, and then I got that Absolute Cinema, the one for Thunderbolts where they're showing all the creatives on it,
Yeah,
and it was like May something, and I'm like, oh my God, that's less than 60 days from now. Wow, we are so close. So
yeah,
I'm getting pretty amped up for it, man. This summer's gonna be a lot of fun. There's
yeah,
so
dude.
much.
There's
And
so much.
the one thing I'm really hopeful for is that Peacemaker is supposed to come out in August, I
Yes,
think. So
correct.
we got May, we got Thunderbolts. Uh, June, I don't think there's anything, but then we have
Yeah.
July, a double feature, and then August, Peacemaker. I mean, there's just so much to look forward to this summer. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, man.
But one last thing we should probably talk about since it's on your
Yes.
shirt because it's Tuesday.
Yes. I want to talk about
Daredevil.
this. Yes.
Yeah. Did you see what they posted for today?
No, I have not looked yet.
So it's a lamppost, and it's
Okay.
got the I think Six Semper Tyrannis or Six Semper something. It's the episode title, and then it's got the Punisher logo on it.
Ooh, okay. That's cool.
So I'm hoping he shows up tonight. That would really make my Tuesday go from good to great.
Yeah.
Um, I just, you know, man, it's been today was 9 years ago was the release for season two, which is the season that brought us
Wow.
Punisher.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, if they were to like, if this is the episode where Punisher comes out, that would be really cool and poetic.
Yeah.
Like almost 10 years to the day to bring him back and put him back on the screen. Because Charlie's made a lot of appearances. He was in No Way Home. He was in She-Hulk.
Hmm.
He was in Echo. He was in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. But we haven't seen John Bernthal back as Punisher. And we will. I mean, obviously, we will. We've seen him in the trailers, and they made a big stink about there at the end of the episode 3 of disguising themselves as him. I think someone did,
Yeah.
and shot White Tiger in the head. So, I mean, how excited are you? Because I'm so damn excited for it.
Dude, I'm beyond excited. I mean, John Bernthal is like he is on that list of like best comic book castings ever. It's not even close. Like he is absolutely on that list right there with Charlie Cox. And
Yep.
the fact that we're gonna get to see both of them interact with each other again after all these years is like so exciting. But I really have enjoyed the show so much so far. I know, the art of comparison is very common, and I get it, especially when you're, in this case at least, building off of another show directly. This is basically season four, just not called season four.
Yeah.
So I can at least understand why the comparisons are going to be made. It makes sense, but looking at it, like, it's clearly a different creative team as far as the visuals of it. But that's okay though. Like things evolve, things change, and do I maybe lean a little more towards the original aesthetic and look? Sure, maybe I like that a little more, but I can also very much appreciate what we're getting right now. I think we've gotten a lot of beautiful cinematography, honestly. I think we've gotten some amazing shots, really cool ideas, fun lighting, even in some scenes.
I'm just
And
glad we got Charlie back, man. He
that
really
too,
like
yeah.
he is Daredevil to me. He's
Yes,
great. He's great. I I,
yes.
I really like, I've read probably like 200-300 Daredevil comics at this point.
Wow.
And every like now when I read it in his voice.
Yes.
Like I read it in his voice 100% because to me he is Daredevil. I mean, he's great. He loves the role. He respects it. He cares about it. It's not like just a job to him. He's really just embraced it and taken it on. I mean, he
And
really cares about this more than I think almost just about anybody, really.
mhm. Yeah, no, I fully buy that. I mean, he's so passionate about the role, and I actually just finished reading most of the Charles Soule run on Daredevil, and oh my God, I've loved every bit of it. I have a few more left, but I'm just about wrapped up with it, and I mean, the influence is very clear from
Yeah.
from that entire run on this series. Not even just with the appearance of Muse, but just in a lot of the themes and ideas that they're incorporating from there into the show. Like you can very clearly see where they're pulling from, and I think that's really cool. But as a whole, though, I mean, the show has been really ambitious, honestly, I think, to this point. I mean, obviously, the first episode left people speechless with what they did. Spoiler alert, if you're watching this, please, if you have not seen the show yet, go watch it. Three, two, one. Foggy's dead. Foggy is dead, and right now Karen is out of the picture for the time being. She's in California, I believe they said, and she'll be
San
back.
Francisco, yeah.
Oh, yeah, so
Which is so crazy to me that Kirsten McDuffie
yeah.
is in New York City and is the one
Yes.
that linked him up with Heather Glenn to get
Mhm.
over Karen Page. Like, as a comic reader, that really blows your mind because one of my friends is like,
Yeah.
it's like, hey, Red, check this out. And then he wrote that out, and I'm like, for like a solid minute, because I'm like, oh my God, imagine telling someone this 5 years ago, they would be like, ah, you're full of it. Like, no, that really happened. That really happened. That Kirsten McDuffie is the one that linked up, Heather with Matt, and Kirsten was flirting with Foggy instead because,
Yes.
and now Karen is living in California, San Francisco specifically, which is funny because that's where Kirsten followed Matt out to when he left New York City when his identity got exposed in New York City.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
all that is just like,
yes, it's a fun twist of events, and I like that they're even for comic readers, they don't really know fully what to expect at this point. And I think the so far my favorite episode has been episode three, honestly.
same.
Episode one I loved, especially obviously I thought the action was very cool, but episode three I just love the storyline with White Tiger. I think it's so awesome. The actor, he just passed away, so unfortunate, but
Amar de los Reyes.
yes, he did a brilliant job in this role.
Yeah, he was
Truly.
great.
We only saw him for two episodes, and I felt so attached to this character. And when I see what happens to him ultimately at the end of episode three, like I'm heartbroken, man. Me and my friends all just screamed, "No!" at the screen as soon as we saw it. We were so upset, man. And it's
What
like,
got me there at the end is
God.
when the credits rolled that they had the cookie doing the noise.
Oh, God,
Man,
dude.
way to like, there's like, here's a
Yeah.
stake we're gonna put in your heart, and now we're gonna push it all the way through. Like, God,
Yeah, dude.
yeah. That what one thing that made me really happy is since I've read a lot of Daredevil is I love Matt in the courtroom. I
Yes.
love Daredevil, but I love Matt the lawyer because he really is a really good lawyer, as he says himself. But like, there's a reason for it. He's got abilities that other people don't have. He's got an upper hand on people. I mean, he knew what was going on throughout the whole courtroom just by listening, by paying attention to individuals through it all. I mean, he
Right.
even turned to Hector and it's like, hey man, calm down. Don't let them see you react, right?
Hmm.
So to see him win a case was awesome because one thing I didn't like about the Netflix show is that
Hmm.
he was basically never in court. He was bar like 3 or 4 times, but even then they made it quick and then he was back out and he was spending more time being Daredevil. I
Right.
like the fact that now that he's taken a big step back, well, taken a step back or just not being Daredevil for the last last year,
Yeah.
that he really has thrown himself into the law part. I mean, he
Yes.
started this new firm with Kirsten, and that he even mentioned to her, like, we're going to take on the hard cases. We're going to do the ones that are going to be hard to win, but for good reason, because he really believes in that.
Yes. And major shout out here, I have to the Newton brothers with their score in this show. Oh my God. I love their entire score in X-Men 97. I was like blown away by that. And as soon as I heard they were going to be composing the score for Daredevil Born Again, I was like, okay, this is like the best thing ever. And so far, it is the best thing ever. I love the way they've incorporated like the choir feel to like
Yeah.
so much of the show, and especially when he's alone in the courtroom, man, and he's sitting down like he's in church. Like that's such a moment for me with the choir in the background. Like it's just so clear the show understands the character, honestly, and I love that they're treating Daredevil as this literal addiction for him, like this addiction to violence that him and Kingpin talked about at the diner. Like,
Mhm.
this is you, this is what you want. I bet you like being on that rooftop, and Matt knows that's true, and he doesn't want to admit it, but there is a strong part of him that did enjoy that because he's addicted to violence because of his upbringing, everything he's gone through in his life. It's unavoidable, and now we're gonna see him slowly break back into this because he just can't help himself. And I'm hoping we see a similar thing that happens in the Charles Soule run, where eventually he says, it's not about one or the other. I'm at my best when I balance these two things out. And that it's no longer this constant struggle between both. Because I love that struggle. But eventually I
Mhm.
would love to see him finally find that resolution and have new struggles that don't even have to do with his identity as Daredevil. Because I think there is a road to peace and balance there. He just needs to find it. And I think that would be really therapeutic for the audience that have been with him this whole way, whether it be through just this season or even for people like me and you through the beginning of the original show, seeing that he finally achieved it. And seemingly he thought he found that probably after season three, in the time between season three and start of Born Again. I'm sure he was kind of in that place, but we never got to see that. I,
Yeah,
I want to see what that looks
I
like.
know.
Right. I want to see what that looks like. Him being Daredevil full time, but also having no problem balancing that out as a lawyer for the most part.
And along with
Like,
his friends knowing,
right, that
because
too.
it took a
Yeah.
while for him to let Foggy and Karen know. They finally found out and he dealt with it. But like that, like you said, that time in between it'd be such a fun opportunity. And
Yes.
I understand why they kind of just skipped over it. They're just trying to introduce this character to people who may have not watched them before, that are wondering why why are we even mentioning this guy? Like what's going on?
Yeah.
Um, but there's just man, I'm glad they're filming season 2 as we speak. I think like I saw set photos again this morning, which I'm trying to avoid because there was one that was very, very spoiler heavy that I was like, I didn't need to see that, but it is what
Okay,
it is.
got it.
But they're already working on season 2, and this we have what 5 more episodes to go. There's a total of 9, I think.
Yeah, 9.
Yeah, so it's cool to see that like they're already getting on the ball on it moving forward, treating this as a TV show, not
Yes.
a special event like Moon Knight or like Secret Invasion or like this is an actual TV show. I love that about this. This overhaul, whatever happened, whoever yelled,
Hmm.
thank you. God bless you for
Yes.
speaking up because man, we're getting it. We're getting what we wanted.
Absolutely. Getting multiple seasons of these shows, not just Daredevil, but any show moving forward is really important, I think, just for the longevity of Marvel shows on Disney Plus. I enjoy some of these limited series. I think some of them are very good. I'm a giant Moon Knight fan.
Same.
I really like that show and I love the comics with Moon Knight. But I think that, the fact that we're not seeing this character for so long is such a bummer, man. I love him so much and we're probably not going to see him till maybe not even in the Avengers movies. It's sounding like it might be post Avengers movies. And if that's the case, it might be 2027 or 2028. And it's like, man, that's a long time for a character a lot of people liked and loved. So I'm hoping we can find a balance now and start doing a lot more shows that are just you film it, season's well received, film the next season. Let's
Yep.
get right to that because I don't want to be held back anymore by this connected universe in the sense that, oh, we got to see where it fits within the rest of the world, what's happening. We might not be able to do a story, you have to wait a couple years. It's like, no, like have it be the shows be more self-contained, unless it's like an event series, then that's different. But otherwise,
That's
have
so funny you say that
yeah,
because Moon Knight was totally disconnected from
right, it
everything else.
was.
Like there was nothing at
Yes.
all that had anything to do with anybody else. All that
Yes.
happened, and I don't think anybody's even remotely aware of it, which makes kind of sense. But
Yeah.
like you're saying, like, yeah, like it wouldn't hurt to keep some of
No.
these things disconnected. Kind of like the thing we were talking about in the beginning with lanterns. They're doing this thing
Yes.
in American Heartland. They're telling the story over there. That's great, awesome. And we're still having a Green Lantern over here in Metropolis. He's dealing with Superman and all that. Like that's what excites me.
Yes. No, I totally feel that. And Moon Knight specifically, it's like that's probably the least connected Marvel project of any Marvel project. I don't even think they mention have a single MCU reference off the top of my head, unless I'm forgetting one.
There's one,
What was it?
the Global Repatriation Council, the one that was the like remember the Flag Smashers got all mad at a group of
Oh,
people,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and there was like one banner in the background, like above
Okay.
the museum where Steven worked, I think. I mean,
Right.
it was like
Yeah.
so.
Blink and you miss it. Yeah.
It's yeah, that was about it. And I think they mentioned no, really, there's like, and there's nothing wrong with that. I actually
Yeah,
don't mind
right.
it because
Me
I'm just
neither.
like I'm focused on what Moon Knight's doing. Like he's doing this, and there's this going on and whatnot. It's great, and so I don't know. I really
Yeah.
just want to see Moon Knight again. That's
Yeah,
all I
me too.
want. I
Me
just really
too.
want to see him.
Yeah,
I
no.
mean, if he were to show up in this show, I wouldn't be upset about it. But
No.
I understand it would work. As far as Daredevil, though, you know, I don't know if this has been mentioned. I don't know if this is
Hmm.
because I try not to pay too much attention, but I'm
Yeah.
kind of hoping Echo shows up. I
Okay.
mean, she set some of the events in motion in this show. Because think about it, she's the one that shot Wilson in the face, which
Hmm.
put him in rehabilitation, which is the reason why him and Vanessa are having marital problems, which is obviously a
Right.
huge deal in this show.
Hmm.
And all we got from it was Vanessa saying, "Yeah, you got shot by that one person," and that's it. I'm like,
Right.
I want to see Echo show up and be like,
Yeah.
you know, I don't need her to really interact with Daredevil as much. I mean, they fought already once, but like in the comics, they were actually she wasn't aware that he was Daredevil, and they kind of started dating when they first
Hmm.
met.
Yeah.
And then Wilson's like, "Oh, I can use this to my advantage," and kind of like led her to it. But don't need to do any of that. I would love to see her show up. I mean, we're getting Punisher back. We're getting Kamala Khan's dad showing up as well. I don't see why Echo couldn't make an appearance.
Yeah, no, I don't see why not either. I mean, I don't know if she's appearing this season. If she is, I don't know of it at least, but I'm sure at some point they have plans to bring her. At minimum, I'm sure she would be in a season two. I'd be surprised if she wasn't, but yeah, I'm interested because, like you said, there's a clear spot for this character to have a role in the Daredevil show, whether it's now or later. And honestly, the show wasn't perfect, but really enjoyed her character a lot, both in Hawkeye and her show, and I think there's a lot of room for more growth and potential with this character who's very interesting, very layered, and honestly, her show was very unique in that, like, we got a real look at just a small community of people and the relationships between them, and we got a good look into her family, her background, her heritage. I think that was really, really beautiful. So, yeah, I mean, maybe probably won't get like an Echo season two, but I would love to see that story continued in small ways, whether it be in a Daredevil show like we're getting right now or somewhere else. But yeah, no, I'm very intrigued to see what the future holds with that character. So I'm with you, man.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Daredevil's awesome. I'm just happy that he's back, you know. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to tonight.
Yes, me too. Tonight's gonna be sick. Is that? I think that's it, right?
I mean, so far, that's really the only big news that's come out right now that I think is worth mentioning.
Yeah.
Uh, but you know, it's always fun to talk about things like this, and especially with you. This
Yeah.
was this was a fun little one, and we're gonna keep doing this. And hopefully, there's just more news to talk about as the weeks go by.
Yeah, man. No, this is a very fun first episode. I'm happy we got to discuss such a wide array of topics ranging from DC to Marvel. And honestly, I'm beyond excited to see what the future holds, especially as these projects are coming out and we get to talk about them, especially when we get to like a Thunderbolts and Superman and Fantastic Four in the same month. Like that's
And Peacemaker to follow up, man.
right. Like there's gonna be
God,
so much to discuss, and that's awesome, man. It's gonna be a blast to do this. And again, the big reason why I wanted to get this going, and I'm happy you agreed to do this with me, is because I feel like so many people out there are just negative about everything. And there's room for critiquing, obviously. You shouldn't just love everything blindly. I am open to critiquing. I've critiqued stuff even in this episode, but I think it's all about the way you approach it. The way you approach it matters. I think coming at it from a more positive lens and saying, hey, this didn't work for me, maybe try X, Y, and Z is a lot more effective than this sucks, get rid of it, cancel it, this is dumb, this is stupid. Like
yeah.
that talk just gets so old and it's nonsensical, and I don't want to do that anymore. So I want to have a space where people can have more positive conversations, and that's the kind of community I want to build for those that listen to this podcast, I'm hoping. And that's why I wanted to bring you in, because I know you're the kind of person that wants to have these kind of conversations, positive ones that are centered on hoping we just get the best out of both worlds right now. It doesn't need
Yeah.
to be a fandom war or anything ridiculous. It's just about loving these projects and characters and hoping that they align with what we like about them. And if not, then I hope someone else does, because I want as many people to enjoy these projects as possible.
Yeah. And on my end, I'm just glad I'm able to talk about something and not get shut down and saying, hey, well,
Yes.
let's blame Bob Chapek. Let's blame COVID. Let's blame
Yeah,
the
right.
strikes. I mean, sometimes you just have to say, hey, man, this just sucks. I'm sorry.
Right.
But with some constructive, I mean, I'm not a filmmaker. I'm not a
Right.
writer. I'm not a, photographer. But at the same time, I can look and say, hey, this wasn't that great. Like a lot of things went wrong with Captain America 4. And it really upsets me because it's sad to see a black Captain America on his outing kind
Yes.
of get the short end
Hmm.
on his day on his well, yeah, his big screen debut. I mean, he
Yes.
was Falcon before and he was also Captain America in his show, but I really was excited to see Anthony Mackie get more. I mean, he's a great actor.
Yes.
He works his ass off in every aspect of his life.
Hmm.
So it was just a bummer to me to see that the film didn't do as well as it could have. Because
Right.
I know the potential. I know the potential for Sam Wilson, for Anthony Mackie, for the MCU. I've seen the highs. I've been there for the lows. I'm still here.
Yeah.
It may not be like the number one thing to me all the time, but it doesn't take away from the fact that I still wanted to see it do well. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, that was fantastic.
Oh,
It was a
so
good
good.
story. I really enjoyed it. Daredevil's, kicking off to a great start. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to Thunderbolts. I'm looking forward to Fantastic Four. I mean, I just hope they do well at the end of the day.
Right. No one here is hoping for any of these worlds to fail or collapse. And I
Yeah.
think that's the big thing, because there's a lot of people that want Marvel to collapse. There's a lot of people that are hoping DC and James Gunn fail. And I'm not here for any of that. I want everybody to do well, because if everybody does well, that's good for me, man. I'm the consumer. I'm the one that wants good products. Why would I ever want these movies to fail from anybody? That's ridiculous. Like, no matter who's making it. Give me the best product. Give me the best piece of art. That's what we're here for. So I'm hoping, and honestly, and a quick shout out to somebody, just because this person is someone who really maybe want to start doing this. from the Real Rejects, honestly, Koi Jandro. I really, really love his perspectives on a lot of these Marvel movies and DC projects, and listening to him talk, like it always came from an angle of positivity. And I said to myself, that's really admirable the way he's approaching it versus what I've seen so many other people do. I want to be able to even do just an inkling of that. And if I can
Yeah.
do that and even spread the positivity a little bit for some people, and again, still give my critiques, but from the right kind of place, then
Hmm.
I feel like I'm doing my job as a fan, and that's really good. It feels really good, and I'm hoping that this is just the beginning, man, because I want to keep doing these for as long as we can, and I'm hoping that over time we can build an audience. Because right now, obviously we're at the inception of things, so it's going to be light. But regardless, whether it's one, 10, 100, 1,000, I love talking about these things, whether it's just with you or more. So this
Yeah, man, for
is this
sure.
is awesome.
Yeah, no, this was great. I really enjoyed talking to you today, man. It's that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is the first episode of Capes and Crossovers. Let's bring it to the outro. Thank you, Marvin. That's a wrap on this episode of Capes and Crossovers. Thanks for joining me and Marvin on this journey through the world of heroes. If you enjoyed today's episode, share it with a fellow fan, and let's keep building a community rooted in sincerity and celebration. Until next time, keep your cape flying high and your hearts open to the next big crossover. See you next time.